Ready?
All right. This is Noah Gutierrez with Diversified Product Development, and we are going to be talking about another LineWise product today. It's more of an option, more than just the actual product itself, I guess, right, Dave? We've talked about the XHD pole puller in the past, and I think even in the HD, or maybe we did them both on the same day. But there's an option that may not be well publicized, that we don't put out there very much of, and maybe from our part, from a sales side, we really haven't put anything on pertaining to a webinar and things of that nature.
We are now.
But we are now. There we go. And I think it was even Dave Packerbush's idea here to go for that subject today. And so today we're going to go ahead and discuss the LineWise XHD Pole Puller Stub Puller option is what we're going for. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit today as we go to the website here. And the way it usually works, right, is you got typically what most people think about is going to be a pole, right? And if you're going to pull a pole, you're going to have a full-size pole sticking up out of the ground. And even sometimes you may have even a stub up, maybe 5 or 6 feet out of the ground. And then you put the pole puller, the XHD pole puller around it, and then the heads will bite into that thing like we've showed in previous webinars and pull it straight up out of the ground. But sometimes we have a problem to where the pole is down at the ground level. Dave, will you tell us a little bit as to why that happens?
Most of the time, it's because some idiot runs over it with a car or a truck.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Shears it off at just above ground level.
Yeah.
It makes them real hard to get out. So we came up with the stub pulling option. And this that we're fixing to show the video of it's actually the second generation of the stub puller.
That's right.
We've done some marketable improvements to it, and we think it's better than it was before. If you liked it then, you'll love it now.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, we've actually had it out in the field, and we actually got was able to get the videographer, yeah, that's the word. Yeah. Videographer out there and have him shoot some quality video of us doing this instead of me trying to do it with my smartphone. Anyway, we got with them, and we've got some pretty good video, I think.
Good deal.
So, anyway, we've got a change. We went with, there's 3 sets of chains now. So there's one chain that goes over the head of it, as you can see, over the bridge, what we call the bridge. Get the little button in the middle. There you go. Where'd you go?
Let me. Sorry. Let's see.
Technical difficulties. There it is. There's the bridge.
Just the bridge.
Yeah, that's the bridge. That's the old bridge. Whoops. That's the old bridge, no?
Okay.
Well, anyway, that's the old bridge. If you're looking at that, that's the old one, where there was actually just 2 chains and some hooks that went over the bridge. Now the new one, cue the video. There you go. So the new one has got a different, we've redesigned the bridge, and it now has 3 chains instead of the 2. Yeah. There we go. So you got two chains, two chains and a adjuster right there with a hook on it. And then we've got a chain that goes over the entire bridge. There we are putting the hook, the chain with the adjuster on it. So we've got two of these that go on either side of it. And then your long chains go up and hook to a chain shortener that comes out over the bridge. And there's where you get your attachment to the bridge. The reason we do that, the reason we do this is it lets the unit adjust itself. So if you got one chain that's got a little more slack in it than the other side, the chain can actually slide on the bridge and you get equal tension on the chains. So, and you can see it's a little, you got to push a button in order to get the chain to go in the adjuster. There you go. You can see that side, and then the other side gets in, and like I say, it's got a safety button that locks the chain into the shortener. And once we're done with that, there you go, is a close up of it. And then once you do that, you have your hydraulics started up and you start extending the cylinders. And you can see it'll take just a little bit here, and the chains will take a pretty good bite. And wait for it. Wait for it. There it is. See, just that easy. Here it comes out.
So if somebody on the video is asking Dave, why did it take a little bit? The answer is obvious, but I just want to put that out there.
You got to tension those chains up and get them to bite into the wood. That was a greasy pole. That sucker had more creosote in it than you could believe in. Plus it was muddy. So it takes a little bit for the chain to tension up. Now what we could have done is once we got some tension in it, we could have slacked off and maybe took a link or two out of the adjusters.
Good point.
And tightened it up even more. But we've got 24 inches of stroke with our cylinders, so you can get a pretty good stroke on this thing. And then all you have to do is just repeat, and you'll see that we're once you reach full stroke, you can go back down. But this thing is putting out 60,000 pounds of pull. It's capable of that much in the stub pulling mode on this XHD.
Now, it's worth noting, I'm glad you said that, Dave. If we're doing this at 60,000 PSI, right?
60,000 pounds of pull, yeah.
Then what happens is, what I like to make comparison to is, you got the Tiger pole puller out there, or even Fairmont, or let's just say the single cylinder pole pullers that are putting out less than that 60,000 pounds.
Oh, a lot less, yes.
And so we're putting a lot more into it. I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's something I would have completely forgot.
So as the cylinders retract, you can kick your chains down, and we've got a little adjuster we could put on it to kind of keep the cylinders standing up. But we kick the adjuster and adjust the chain lengths again, and then go again and say, once again, it takes a little bit to bite. But once it bites, it pulls it out pretty easy.
Yeah, you can clearly see once it gets that bite, man, it starts pulling it out.
Yeah. So, and you just keep it on until you get up high enough that you can't retract anymore. There's no way to get the cylinders down because you've got so much pole sticking out of the ground. And you can change out then and go back to the regular heads and pull it conventionally. Like I say, it depends on the length. If there's enough butt sticking in the ground, then you have to put the heads on. If not, you get it up 3 or 4 feet out of the ground, you may be able to take your digger and pull it out with the winch or the digger.
Very true. You should be a lot more loose at that point, right?
Yeah. Once you've broken the suction and all that, you can pull it out pretty easy. But anyway, this takes all the stress and strain off your digger derrick. This thing's designed to pull poles. Digger derricks are not designed to pull poles.
And that's a very good point. I've been in a room with a digger derrick manufacturer, in-service person, and I've heard them say the digger derrick is for guiding the pole into the ground, right, and pulling the loose pole out of the hole.
Yeah.
But it's not designed to pull the pole out of the ground when all that suction is still there. They try to grab a hold of the pole with the bolt claws and go back and forward, trying to wiggle it out of the ground, and that is just not the way those digger derricks are designed to be used, and it causes damages. And then when it does that, then what's going to happen is it's going to cost you more to repair that digger derrick than it is to buy one of our pole pullers and the stub puller option.
We won't go into how many OSHA regulations you're breaking when you use the digger to pull poles.
That's correct. There's even been accidents that have happened, and people have lost their lives.
So anyway, that's what this thing does. It takes the place of
That's right.
of using your digger. That's all the video.
I guess at this point, any questions that there may be pertaining, well, these webinars are getting shorter and shorter. We're gonna get more audience now. Yeah, that's a good deal. So any questions about the stub puller today? We've covered the amount of pole that's pulling out, which is 60,000 pounds of pole. It's
now, the XHD normally without the stub puller option, it's 120,000.
That's right. That's right.
So when we go to 60, we're cutting it in half,
Right.
but we're still putting out more than the let's just say the competition's cylinder.
Definitely. Now, what would you say to the customers or those that are watching today, Dave, as to why we've gone from 120,000 pounds of pull to 60,000 when using the stub pull?
We've had to reduce the size of the chain because if we didn't, you was going to have to be maneuvering around a 3/4 inch 100K chain, and there's just no way to get a bite with that big a chain.
That's right.
So we went down to 5/8, I believe it is. And in order to do that, we've got to cut the capacity that the thing can generate. We cut it in half. The chain can take that.
That's right. So engineering ran calculations, found out that chain was just not strong enough. You'd have to have a bigger chain, like you're saying there.
Chain, if you want 120,000 pounds of pull, we'd had to have 3/4 to 1 inch chain. And that's like dragging an anchor.
Right. I guess it's like an anchor on a boat, man. That's a lot of chain there. So knowing all that, questions about the stub pulling option. If you have any, before going any further, I'd like to just say that this option is not something that we just came up with on our own. There are two companies that came up with the idea and asked us if we'd come up with that. They were electric utilities. I'm not sure if I could share their name or not, so for that, I'll just keep that quiet for now. But there are two electric utilities that came to me about the same time asking about this. And one in particular had the idea for the bridging of the cylinders there that you saw today. Again, it's not our own ideas. This is some of the great ideas coming from the minds of electric utilities and electric utility contractors. So any questions or comments about the stub puller option before we end today's webinar?
Hey, Dave, and no, it is Rick.
Hey, Rick.
Question and comment here. So first, it seems like you could put a come along in the chain, series of the chain, so that you could use the come along to ratchet it up tight against the pole without using the hydraulic cylinder movement to achieve the bite, what you're calling the bite, right? So we made, I don't know if anyone's ever tried that or not, but just right offhand looking at the video, it seems like that would work. And secondly, I got a bunch of customers down here in Florida, and we use concrete poles. And a lot of times, concrete pole, they'll get damaged or whatnot, and they'll actually cut the pole with a saw, and they'll leave a section sticking out of the ground. Have we done any testing on how the chain or whatnot would work around square concrete poles?
No, we haven't. We are currently having designed a concept for pulling full-size steel poles. Now, for stubs, I don't know. I've never had the opportunity to wrap a chain around a concrete pole and see what it'll do. I don't know if it would pull it or crush it, but be worth a shot.
All right. Well, if y'all want to ship one down here to Miami, I can arrange that to happen. Second thing, let's say the pole gets knocked over and it's like cut off at the ground level and you don't have that 1 foot or so. Have we done any testing on driving or threading or putting something like an eye in the middle of the core of the pole if it's still, it's not rotted, obviously, and be able to pull it out that way without wrapping a chain around it?
No, and the only way we've ever done it is how you've shown it. We've never had the opportunity to. I know that there's one system that you use the digger, the auger on the digger to mount a drill extension on there and drill down and put an eye on it and pull up from there. I don't know if that thing could take the amount of pressure we could generate. If it could stand the 60,000 pounds of pulling, we could try it, but I just don't know.
All right. Well, maybe we'll organize shipping one down here and we'll recreate these scenarios and see if we can't figure it out. If y'all are up to doing that.
Yeah, I would say that if you got a situation where you have a concrete pole that's down close to the ground, it doesn't hurt to send you a pole puller and a stub puller and see what happens. And
now
that's
on
the best experience.
The one you're talking about putting the come along, you're not talking about using the come along to pull it. You're just talking to use the come along to take the slack out of the chain.
Right. Yeah, it
Okay.
takes the slack out, so you're getting the bite straight away without using the vertical movement of the cylinder. So you would start once you start the hydraulic, you would start pulling the pole right away.
Yeah. And they say there's places you can hook a come along and we can see it. But like I say, we had the opportunity to take it out and video it for the first time. And so all these ideas are new and yeah, we can try it out. We just have to have the opportunity and time to do it.
All right, I'll send you the ship to address on where to ship that thing for me.
Okay.
10-4.
Yeah. I'd like to see about maybe trying to wrap a chain around a concrete one and use a come along and take the slack out of it and maybe have it get a bite.
Okay, sounds good. How about the using the tether on, for a full length type pole? Have we done any more engineering research on developing a head that would actually work for concrete or steel poles? For pulling the pole.
It's on our engineering list. I don't know how far along with it, but it is definitely on the list. That and steel poles. We're trying our best to get both of those. The left coast and the east coast are all wanting something besides a wood pole puller. So we're working.
Yeah, I saw on Duke Energy's installing 35,000 direct buried steel poles. And I'm sure they'll have to pull some of those later. So that would be a beneficial product at some point. So there's a lot of poles going in the ground these days that even on the West Coast, as y'all know too, right? That's no longer wood. So it seems like as time goes on, more and more, there's going to be more composite, steel, concrete poles going in the ground, which obviously have to get pulled at some point. And it would make this even more beneficial moving forward if we had those head adapters for different type poles, of course.
Yeah, it's definitely in the.
Okay, I don't want to take up everybody's time talking, so I'll shut up, let other people ask questions.
One thing I want to add, Rick, pertaining to what you said there, I don't know how far down those steel poles are being installed down the East Coast, but if they're putting in steel poles, those pole braces that we have, the depths, would be a great product to help get those installed if they're putting them in concrete bases. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
We just got our largest order on those pole braces, 224 units. So there's a great need for those out there when you're putting in direct embed poles. So, all right, any other questions or comments?
Hey, no, it's Wilf here from LineStar.
Hey, Wilf.
No, I noticed the chain, when it starts, it gets rolling quite a bit and we're losing 6 to 8 inches before it starts pulling. Do you ever thought maybe of putting like a wedge on each side with teeth on the back of it so the chain would would stay in one position, and the chain would take a slack out of itself right away. And then we'd get the full pull instead of losing 6-8 inches on the pull.
So you were very quiet there when you started off. I know that you're talking about the chain having that slack in it. Could you run that by me one more time? We just turned the TV up over here.
I was just saying, like the chain when we start, there's some slack in it, and then it'll roll and roll until it's tight. And then so we've already lost about 6 to 8 inches of pull. Have you ever thought of putting a wedge on each side with teeth on the back of that wedge? So that would hold the chain there, and your eye that you have there, the chain would slide through that eye, and once it's tight, it would automatically start pulling that pull.
And we kicked around the idea of a pad with maybe some teeth on it that the chain would go through to help take up the slack and help it bite quicker than it is right now. But yeah, we're still, like I say, we're working on it. Like Rick had with maybe a come along to take some of the slack out of the chain and get another link or two. It's just so that chain is so big and heavy that it's hard to get as much slack out of it as you need. But yeah, it's all, say it's an evolving process. This is the first time we've really been out and used it for any length of time, just that one pole.
And I was going to say that while we've had the original stub puller out for probably a couple of years now, this one that you saw in the video today, like Dave is saying, is the newest one that we have. It's replacing the older one that we have. And that video was literally the first time anybody had ever seen it or used it. First time we ever got video of it, on an actual field application. So yeah, there's going to be some adjustments that we're going to figure out as far as getting the slack out. But yeah, Wilf, that's a great idea for us to consider and see if that's something that we end up doing or some other method, whatever it takes to get that slack out, because it is a good point. Losing about 6 inches or so of stroke, and all you're doing is getting slack out of the chain at that point. It's not very efficient at that point, but we'll have to figure out a better way to do that for sure. But great advice there. Anyone else? Comments, concerns, questions? Okay. Well, if there's nothing else, then we're going to go ahead and conclude the meeting for today. Tomorrow we will have another one. I'm a little off on my days. Usually we do this on Thursdays and Fridays. I think due to time off or other things that are going on, we moved it to Wednesday, Thursday of this week. So tomorrow, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, I think we're doing this one at 10:30 tomorrow morning again. So if you didn't catch the whole webinar and you want to see it tomorrow, then join us again at 10:30 Central Time, a.m. that is in the morning. I'm not going to be here at 10:30 at night. Yeah, that's. And then if you know somebody else on your team, if you're a manufacturer's rep, or if you're a utility or electric utility contractor, and you want somebody else to be able to see this video again tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Central Time, we encourage you to invite someone and share what we're doing here. Again, you can go on the YouTube, go on YouTube after this, go to, I think on LinkedIn, you'll be able to find it there as well, to where you can get this video and share it with others. We know there's stubs out there and we know they got to get pulled. And I think we got one of the very few stub pulling options out there in the industry. So I encourage you to share it. And then we're going to try and get back to doing the every 3-week webinar. This one might be a little weird. We're coming into the month of December already. We're already in December, aren't we? Yeah. And so Christmas is coming around. People will be off. I don't know, maybe me and Dave will do a little Christmas play for you or something here for the next webinar. I'm not sure. But we'll do something probably here in the month of December. But we want to thank you for joining us today for this LineWise webinar of the Pole Stub Puller that we have to offer here at LineWise. So until tomorrow or next webinar that we see, you take care and we'll see you then.